Hey, Hum and Talk. We are back with another lesson for your public speaking class. I'm your professor, Professor Caravaggio, although most of my students call me Professor C, so you're cool with that too. This week we are talking about perception. And this is the argument that I make that all public speaking is built upon, is perception of the speaker. Think about it. With someone that you have a positive perception of, right? You like that person. You listen to them. You find them favorable. If it was a teacher or a professor, you likely learned more in their class because you had a favorable perception of them. We don't like the word perception. We don't like this idea. We think it's dirty in the sense that somebody can absolutely think something about us that may not be true. Okay, I got that. But if I'm speaking in front of an audience, y'all don't have time to assess whether this is really who I am or not. It's just your perception of me, right? So if I know that, wouldn't it behoove me to think of the perception I would like to present for my audience, right? That's the cool thing. You are in charge of the perception that you present to the audience. You get to create it and craft it. So everything that I'm going to do in my speech is going to set up to give you the perception that I'm a credible speaker. Yeah. So you should do the same thing. And that comes in all aspects of giving speeches, right? So that's not just in delivery, that's in content too. But I'm going to set it up to where my audience has a favorable perception of me. So in order for me to be credible, I need to have competence and character. And those two things are different. So just for today, we're going to talk about competence. We'll talk about character the next time. So for today, we're going to talk about competence. Now, remember I said perception. That's the overarching theme that we have to. Now, competence is here, right? That's in order for me to be credible, I have to seem as though I am competent. Notice I said seem as though I'm competent, right? The perception that the audience needs to have is that I am a competent speaker, meaning they need to think that I know what I'm talking about. Because competence is only what the audience thinks you know. It's not what you actually know. You could be the smartest person in the world in that topic. I have coached professors who literally are the expert in their field. There is nobody who knows more about the topic that they are speaking of except them. Nobody knows more. And yet the audience thinks that person doesn't know what they're talking about because of their perceived competence. Perceived. It's the perception. So we have to do things to provide the perception that we are competent. Yes, some of those things are in delivery. It's in the way that we stand. It's in the way that we speak. It's in making eye contact. Those are all physical things that we do, right? Nonverbal cues that we give to our audience. But in the verbal things that we say, right? The content of our speech, we're going to include things that make us sound like we're credible, right? That I want to be competent. So I'm going to have people who are smarter than me back up the things that I say. That's research, y'all. We include that. And because it's a speech, I'm going to say it verbally. So you hear it and you understand that that's me saying, oh, this person who's smarter than me, yeah, they back up those claims too. So I'm going to include that stuff. I'm going to be strategic with the types of research that I pick so that it is favorable to the audience that I am choosing, so that their perception is that I am a person who is competent, that they think that I know as much about this topic as I know that I know about this topic. So we want to be competent speakers, and we want to provide the perception that we are competent speakers. It's not about actually being competent, although that'd be nice too. But it's about the perception that you provide that you are a competent speaker. So think about perception the next time you give a speech. Take a little bit more time to think about the perception that you are trying to craft for the audience to have, and actually spend some time crafting that perception because you are the holder of that. And this works regardless of what kind of audience you have. It could be that you're giving a speech in front of a big audience. It could be that you're at a job interview with an audience of one or two or a small panel. But regardless of the audience, you are in control of the perception that you provide to them. I know what perception I want to provide, and so I'm going to be specific in crafting that perception. And the first part about that is making sure that I am a competent speaker and that I have the perception that I'm competent. All right, Hillman Talk. This week, that's your homework. Think about the perception you would like your audiences to have. Take some notes, write that down, and then we're going to work towards getting that. So I will see you next time for our next lesson. And this time, we're going to talk about the other part of being a credible speaker, which is character.